All right, so we're talking about Pro Tools markers, bounce, commit, freeze. That's what we're talking about in the notes today. And just markers, you've seen me put some markers in, I believe, before, but here, let me just show you this. So with markers, these are just, for the most part, they're just placeholders for the timeline in Pro Tools. That's kind of the most basic use for markers. They're super, super useful. I highly recommend using markers all the time, all the time. But let's talk about how to get the markers in. So there's a couple ways to get your markers in here. First of all, what you want to do is you want to put your timeline where you want to put the marker. And this becomes a lot easier if you have your grid here turned on. If you have the grid turned on, then it becomes a lot easier to put the marker in the right place. It's going to lock right into that grid. So I usually set my grid for 1 bar. And then what I'll do is you can put put your cursor where you want it to be, as long as you have this one turned on here, link timeline and edit selection. Your playhead is going to follow wherever you put it. So if you want to start over here where I've got a marker already, let me just get rid of that marker. If you want to start right here where you've got a mark where the top is, right? So you could do that. You can move it over here, go over here. Why do we not have any drums? Where's my boom? Oh, I gotta turn on my hard drive. There we go. Let me redo this one here, resync. There we go. Just make sure my hard drive is on here. Come on, hard drive. Where you at? There you are. All right, cool. I forgot that I put this on a separate hard drive. Don't save. All right, so just let this restore the tracks, get those samples up. The reason why it wasn't playing was because all my samples are on an external hard drive that was not actually connected up to anything. So that's why that just happened. All right, so now, all right, there we go. All right, cool. All right, so we got our drums in here. That's good. We want the drums. So essentially, I've got my playhead right here, and if I want to start it somewhere, if I want to loop something, as long as I have this link timeline and edit selection turned on, this up here is going to follow whatever I click on down here. So if I wanted to highlight this last part over here and just listen to this end part. Okay, so you can see how that works there. It's going to loop around. I can play it from over here. I don't have to click up here in the timeline. I can just do it down here in the main part of the window there. So that's what this link timeline edit selection does. So make sure that's turned on. And then wherever you are in here, there's a couple ways you can put in your markers. You can go over here. You can hit the plus button, and it will add a marker in. It pulls up this what they call memory locations. They're also called markers. The memory location, I can just call this one top. Like that, and it puts the top one in right there. And if I move over here and I put the plus button, I can put in another one, beat, whatever. You can name them whatever you want. Another way that I can put them in, let me just erase this. I'm going to hold down Option or Alt on a Windows machine and just get rid of that. And another way to put them in is put my playhead where I want it to be. If you have a numeric keypad, this thing over here, if you have this numeric keypad and you hit the Enter key, it'll put a marker right there where you hit the Enter key like that, and I can name it top. You can put one over here, hit the Enter key, whatever. I'm just naming them kind of whatever things right now. And then another way to do it is if you have a laptop and you hold down Fn and hit Return, it'll put one in. Mine didn't. What did you just do? Oh, it did put one. Okay, cool. But it just did. Hold on a second. Oh, it didn't put it in because I don't have a laptop. If you hold down your Fn key and hit the Return key on your laptop, it'll put a marker in there as well. So that's kind of the 3 ways that you can put the markers in, and that's all in here in the notes: Fn Return or Enter, or the plus key, which I didn't put there because the plus key to me is a little bit obvious because it's like there's a plus right there. But you've got those ways of doing it, and so let me just show you what else happens here. Hey, Dempsey, what is up? Where's there it is. When you're playing, so if I put one here in the beginning, top, and as I go, I can hit them as I go, and it's going to put the marker wherever I hit the enter key. So I'm going to go ahead and hit go. 1, 2, 3, 4. And I'll put one right here. Boom. I'll give it a name. And it put that marker in right there. There we go. Okay. So you got these different places where you can put the markers like this, and it puts it right where I hit the enter key. Okay, let me just show you that one more time. I'm going to hold down my option key to delete it. You can see my hand turns into like a little minus thing right there. So I'm going to go back to here. I'm going to hit the enter key to put one in, top, give it a name. And now I hit go. Let me go ahead and get rid of, let me turn this one off. And I'm going to go down here and do the base one as well. There we go. And so now I'll hit enter right now. There we go. There's my beat. And I'll hit enter again right here. Go. Where the bass comes in. Right, and maybe after this little break thing here, I'll put more beat in over here. Boom. Put that beat in a couple times. Here we go. Here's that bass line. Let's get this lead thing over here. Okay, use my separation tool. Boom. And let's make sure that we don't have that filter thing growing up. Okay, over here. Yeah. Stop that. Stop it. There we go. Put this back into clips mode. Cool. All right, so now we can put like here, this one here. And I'll call this one verse 1, V1 for verse 1. And that's why I want to, do some rapping or whatever. I can do that right there. Okay, so we can see here we've got a couple of different things, and let's say that I wanted to get into kind of a more chorusy type thing over here. Let's right here, put this one as a chorus, C1 chorus, and let's make that this one over here. Cool. And if I go down here, and what I'm doing is I'm copying, I'm holding down Option, I'm copying it over. What that does is it allows me to copy over the clip, but it's also copying in my automation as well. Okay, so the automation's all copied over. So here it's going to just be like this. And then over here, let me just get rid of some of these points, clean that up a little bit. So when I get to here, so we'll just call that loud, that kind of brighter section, the chorus, and we'll call this darker section here the verse. And so what I can do is I can just copy these over, and I can actually put another marker in here, and I can just kind of lay this out real quick a little bit, boom, and I just know what it's going to sound like. Whoops, let's rename that one. Double click on it to rename it. Oh, hey. I said double click to rename it. There we go. Boom. And so it's going to be like the verse like this, and the chorus like that. And let's do a little outro thing over here. Let's do it without the lead line part. The outro thing will be like this. Boom. Put another marker here, and we'll just call this one over here end. There we go. And so you can see I've got basic markers here, and if I want to, I can pull up my marker window, which is Command 5. Command 5 on the numeric keypad, I should say. If you don't have the numeric keypad, and again, this is the numeric keypad right here. This is the numeric keypad. This here is just your regular number keys. This is not called a numeric keypad. This is just your number keys. This here is a numeric keypad. So if you don't have this, if you've just got a laptop and you don't have this, you just have this, that's not a numeric keypad. And there's a bunch of shortcuts in Pro Tools that you can't get to without that numeric keypad. So just know that with the windows over here, see where it says these here, see how these have a little pound sign, a little the Mac symbol next to them, the command key symbol. Well, this here means that it's a numeric keypad. Sorry, not that. This one here with the little circle around it. Let me just zoom in on that. This little box around it, the number. That means it's your numeric keypad. And so if you don't have that, if like, where is it? Where's some numbers? I don't know where any numbers are on here right now, but see how these just say like J, whatever. It doesn't have a box around it. If it said like 1, 2, 3, that would be your normal number keys up across the top. But with the box around it, these right here, that is your numeric keypad. So if you don't have a numeric keypad, you actually can't get to those shortcuts. You're just gonna have to go through the window here and get to them like that, which is super annoying, but that's just the life that you live right now until you get a numeric keypad. Now, does that mean that I recommend that you get a numeric keypad? Absolutely yes. Definitely go and get a numeric keypad. If you're using Pro Tools all the time, you definitely want one. Okay, anyway, for those of us who have a numeric keypad, you can hit Command. Here, let me just close. Whoa, just close. Sorry. That is not what I wanted to do. There we go. So hit Command 5 and it pulls up your memory locations, and we can see all of my memory locations are here. So any part of the song I want to get to, I want to go to where my beat drops in. There it is. I want to go to where my bass drops in. I want to go to my verse 2. I want to go to the outro. Right. So you got all that stuff in there. And you can just go to any part that you want, which is pretty cool. This is especially great if you're working with instrumentalists or singers, people that you're recording. You can just go to a part of the song. Now, here's another cool little trick. If you wanted to loop the chorus to record, loop the verse to record the verse or the chorus or whatever, you can click on one and then hold down Shift and click the next marker over, and you can see it loops, it highlights this section of the song for me. So I can loop that part of the song right there like that. And it's gonna go back like that. Cool. So that's how we can set loops up and stuff. So if I want to loop the intro of my song, I can just highlight these. So whatever one I want to go to loop, it's gonna loop the, oh, hold on, let's loop to the right there. There we go. And now it would loop this whole beginning part of the song, which is pretty dope. I'm just gonna let this loop play once so you get an idea for what it would do. Right, and it goes back to the beginning there because I've got this whole part highlighted. So the way you do that is you hold down Shift and then click the next one. So whatever you want to loop between. So I click on the first one, I click whichever one I want to loop it until, and I hold down Shift. And you got to remember the marker is denoting like the beginning of that bar. So if I want to loop this whole first section here, I have to click on the V1 here, the verse 1 marker for it to work properly. So that's how that works there. Now, in the notes, I've got two things here, top and end. These are the really most important markers that you've got. I just name them top and end. You can name them start and finish, whatever you want to do. I call them top, I call them end, the top of the song, the end of the song. And these here are so I know where to set up my bounce, or I know where to how to bounce the song out when I'm done. Because especially in the beginning, until you get used to your room or until you're really good at mixing, you're probably going to be doing a lot of bounces and taking them places, listening to your mixes in different places. Take your mix to a club, take your mix to a car, take your mix to your living room, take your mix to your friend's house. Wherever you go, and you're going to want to take some notes, come back and read and do the mix again. until you're really good at mixing, this is just going to be a part of your life, is constantly checking your mix in different places. Even when you are good at mixing, you're going to want to check your mix in different places. But the difference is when you're good at mixing, you're going to you're going to know how things translate. You're going to get better and better at knowing how things translate. So my friends who are working 8 hours a day mixing stuff, they know that mix is going to sound good everywhere because they've already done all this work of checking it out. Their ears are trained. They're better at this stuff. So they don't have to do as much taking the song to other places. But when you are starting off and you're getting better at mixing, when you're learning how to mix and stuff like that, you really need to be bouncing your mix and taking it to other places, and then bouncing it and then taking it to other places. So what I recommend is you set up 2 markers. If you don't set up any other markers, that's on you. You're crazy. But at the very least, set up 2 markers, and that's top and end. And the reason why is because you're going to be constantly bouncing this thing out. So I want to set up my top one here in the beginning, wherever the start of the song is, and I want to put an end marker over here. And you'll notice that my end marker is not right here at the end of the song. It's like 1 or 2 bars over. Okay, and the reason why is because there's going to be some delay, although there's not a whole lot of delay. There's not a whole lot of a tail here. Oh. Okay, there is a little bit here. I forgot that delay was on the end. So we got that there. I've moved this over until where the sound pretty much completely dies out. And you want to make sure you put it where the sound completely dies out because you want to clean it up in your, like, later on. You don't really want to do the cleaning right now. If you're doing it proper, if you're doing proper mastering stuff, you want to clean it up when you've got the 2-track. You can put fades on it and all that kind of stuff. But for now, we could, put this in here and... Right, and the sound is gone by this point. You want to make sure you're back to silence. Now, I'm going to put it right here. I don't want it to be too long on the end. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go down to the bottom. Whoops. Yes, I know. I'm going to go down to the bottom, and I'm going to get my master. I don't have a master on here. Shame on me. There we go. I got my master. What I'm going to do is I'm going to fade out the master down here using automation. Remember, we talked about that before. Just going to do like this, and then get rid of that one. There we go. And so now when it goes, you're going to hear it's going to fade out. Right? Because I don't need all that delay on the end. And so I want to make sure I put this end marker here wherever there's silence, wherever we get to silence, because that's going to be where the recording is going to finish. And then what I do when it's time to finish everything and I'm done and I'm like, okay, this sounds good. What I'm going to do is I'm going to hit top over here. I'm gonna hold down shift. I'm gonna hit my end, and now it's going to bounce out this part right here, which we're gonna talk about here in a second. So that's really the markers stuff. That's the main use for your markers. Let me see here. When you're ready to bounce the audio, yeah, and that just talks about when you're ready to bounce the audio. That stuff there. That's great. Okay, so that leads us into our next part here, which is bounce. Now, remember what I said before when we were talking about the audient. The bounce is recording the mix to your 2-track. If I've got friends who I'm like, hey, check out my track, and I give them this Pro Tools session, they're probably not going to be able to hear it because they don't have Pro Tools. Your friends are not as cool as you. They don't have Pro Tools, right? So what we want to do is we want to give them the stereo mix. You want to give them an MP3 or a WAV file or an AIF or something like that. Probably an MP3 because your friends are not audio engineers. So, or I mean, maybe they are, but probably most of them aren't. So you want to give your friends what we call a 2-track or a stereo bounce, okay? The way we make a stereo bounce in Pro Tools, when you're done with your song, I've got everything in here. I'm very happy with how the song sounds. It's looking good. It's sounding good. It's going to be a hit. I know it. Well, what I'm going to do is, first of all, I'm going to make sure I set up my memory locations here. And I'm going to go over here to where it says File. I'm going to go to File. I'm going to go down to Bounce Mix, which is Command Option B. Remember that shortcut. That shortcut is super, super important. If you're on a Windows machine, it's Control Alt B. B for bounce. It's super easy. B for bounce. Just make sure you remember Command Option B. So you hit that bounce mix right there, And now it pulls up this window here. And this window here has a bunch of options. Now, before I start with anything else, the most important option that's on here, more important than the name, more important than the file type, more important than anything else, is this one right here, file format. Change that to interleaved. Because if this does not say interleaved, then your bounce is not going to be correct. Your bounce is going to be weird. So make sure it says interleaved, because if you have it set for mono, that's going to be a mono mix. It's not going to have all the stereo left-right stuff. Not useful. If you have it set for multiple mono, what that's going to do is it's going to give you two separate files, one for the left side, one for the right side. So again, not super useful. We talked about that in the first week of everything. If we go back to your notes, hold on. You know what? I'm going to do it. I'm doing it. I'm going to go back to the notes for week 1, teaching, daily notes, back over here, Pro Tools intro review, right over here. Let's take a look at this. Where is it? Right over here. Interleaved. Okay. This is what we're talking about. Right here, this is what we're talking about. I think even at the time I said, hey, remember this whole interleaved thing because it's going to become super important later. So interleaved means you've got one file that has both the left and right. It's one file, 2 channels, left and right. You need that because that's what people can listen to. If you give your friend a file that says .l or .r, they're only going to hear a mono version of your track. They're going to hear the left side or the right side. They can still play it. It's just not going to be the full song. It's not going to be both sides. So make sure you don't give them a .l or .r file. Don't give me a .l or .r file. I don't want it. I do not want it. I'm going to send it back to you with a big old, like a 25%. If you give me a bounce that's like a .l or .r files, I'm going to send it back to you with a bad grade. So please give me a WAV file that doesn't say .l or .r. That is that's the real bounce. So I'm going to go here, Command Option B, and in here we're going to say file format is going to be interleaved. That's the most important part. Everything else is possibly important, but not as important as that one. That is the most important thing. Okay, so file name. Well, I'm just going to call this one the goat beat. There we go, and WAV file is probably what you want there, not MP3, because there's another box down here that says add MP3. You're going to check that box. Bit depth 24, yes, sample rate probably 44.1. Pad to frame boundary. Interesting. I assume that's going to make sure you've got all the, I don't know, don't check that box. Set up your markers and do it. I think it's probably going to make sure it like doesn't have any audio in there. I don't know about that though. I don't actually know what that one does. That's a new one. Location, import after bounce. If you're bouncing out stuff that you're going to use later on, then click this, but you don't need to, unless you're bringing it back into your session. But if you're not, then don't click that. Over here, file destination. It's not a bad idea to have it in the session folder in your bounced files folder. That's where I would normally put it. But if you have a place on your hard drive that you want to put it every time, prompt for location. Down here where it says offline, this is really, really, really useful. I highly, highly recommend clicking this offline button. Now, once we've got all this stuff set up, I can actually set this here by holding on Command or Control on a Windows machine and clicking the 2 key. And it flashes. So now if I put this back, it should, yeah, it does change some things up. So I put this here, boom. All these settings. So for example, here, let me set up number 1 here for multiple mono. Turn off the MP3. Put this to import after bounce. Let's put this for prompt. Let's turn that. Okay. I'm going to save this. So now all my settings here, I can save them with one of these button clicks. I usually have, anytime you see this presets thing here, we're going to talk about this in a minute when we talk about session data and stuff. Any time you have these number keys here, I usually set number 1 as like a default setting and number 2 is my personal settings. And that's just, I don't actually know why I don't set 1 as my personal settings. It's just a habit that I got into. It's like number 1 is the defaults, number 2 is my personal settings. So whatever, you can do whatever you want with that. That's how I do it. But once you've got these set up, just hit that 2 key and you're good to go. But don't forget these settings. Like keep these memorized, because any studio you go to, anywhere you go, these settings are going to be very important. The only ones you may change is if you're doing stuff for video, you'll have this set for 48. Or if you know you're bouncing it out for a CD or something for some reason, I don't know why you would bounce it out for a CD, but if you are, then this would be 16-bit and 44.1. But what? CDs? Gross. Don't. No. Ew. If you're doing fun, retro stuff, do vinyl, or if you want to get really weird, do cassette, but don't do cassette either. All right, so if I hit the OK button, if I check that MP3 box, this one right here, add MP3, what's going to happen is it's going to pull up my MP3 settings here, and I keep it for slowest. It's not going to be that slow anyway because your computer's super fast. Keep it for 320 bits per second, which is the highest bit rate. And then fill out all this information. Pro Tools doesn't give you some options that other things give you because Pro Tools is professional. But other stuff, we could talk about iTunes a little bit later, maybe over in Zoom or something like that. Other ones have a couple of other options that I recommend that you uncheck, like filter frequencies below 10 hertz, or what was another one that's in there? I don't even remember now. But this is not an option here. Always set your constant bitrate. Don't ever set variable bitrate. Variable bitrate, it has potential to make it sound not as good. And honestly, I have never met somebody who can consistently tell the difference between a 320 MP3 and a WAV file. I haven't. Even on the best systems, I've never met somebody. When you do like a blind test, and I've done blind tests a few times, because there's always people who are like, no, I can totally tell. No, you can't. I doubt it. I doubt it. I think people, when you see what you're doing and you know what you're doing, then you psych yourself out into thinking you can tell the difference. But I've never met somebody who could tell the difference. And if I did meet somebody who could tell the difference, I would say, you're a unicorn, and I don't make music for unicorns. Go away, unicorn. Get out of here because you're scary, because you're a mythological beast, and you're probably going to impale me with that horn. So, people think unicorns are cute. They're not. They're scary. Unicorn horns are just weapons. Just kidding. So you hit OK. It's going to start bouncing. It bounces it out. And it's going to put it on your... it's going to put it in the folder where you told it to put it, which for me, well, let's go and here and go to our sound and Pro Tools projects. There we go. MIDI Basics C. And now it's got a bounced files folder in here. Boom. And it's got my WAV file and it's got my MP3. And if I hit go like this, you can't hear that, but there you go. So, my unicorn rant. I'm just kidding. Actually, I think unicorns are hilarious. Yeah. So, anyway, so now we got this beat here, and now this is what you can send to people. Now, let's see here. I don't know if I have, hold on, let's see. Loop back. Do I have my iTunes set up on here for this loop back that we're in? Yeah, I do. So here, I can actually play for you these, and if you have headphones on, I mean, you're going to see which one I'm playing. But you're going to notice, let me just skip ahead. Right, it sounds great. This one also sounds great. Let's go back to the other one. I can't hear the difference. Maybe my ears are just messed up. I don't know. Too many clubs. I don't know. But I don't know. That's my challenge for you is do a blind test with somebody who thinks that they can tell the difference between a high-level MP3 and a WAV file. Now, let me just put a caveat on that and say that the MP3 we're talking about has to be a 320 MP3. The ones that you have from iTunes, they sound pretty good. And actually, the AAC files sound really good as well. They're at 160, but I always kick things up to as high as I can with this. But because like a 128 MP3, you can absolutely tell the difference. 256, maybe not, but 320s are small files, and they sound great. So, I mean, we can see here, the MP3 is 3.8 megabytes, and the WAV file is 25 megabytes. Now, what I do is whenever I have a song that I'm just bouncing down as like a demo just to listen to on my headphones, I don't even bounce it as a WAV file. I just bounce it as an MP3 because I don't want to take up extra space in my hard drive. But when I'm done and I'm ready to go, everything is like done, and I'm ready to like, it's like I need to send it out to a record label or whatever. That's when I get the WAV file, and I do the WAV file, and I send people the WAV file. So WAV files are definitely more professional. You need them for stuff, and so you should always be doing WAV files for the final versions of things. But if I'm just listening to music on my iPod, or even when I'm DJing, I DJ with MP3s and not WAV files. And my music partner, Rich, he does everything with WAV files, or AIFs, actually. He uses AIF. And we play back to back when we DJ, and he's got his thumb drive in one machine, I've got my thumb drive in the other machine, and I'm playing MP3s, he's playing waves, and I've never yet had somebody come up to me and say, yo, your set was good, but Rich's music sounded better. Nobody's ever said that to me yet, and I played big festivals, I played in, for like lots of people, and nobody's ever said the sound quality is not good enough. People might say, I don't like your songs, or if I'm in some situations back when I was playing at certain clubs, people would be like, can you play some dance music? I want some dance music. If you're a DJ and you played at like parties, you know what I'm talking about. I've had that happen, but I've never had somebody come up and be like, yo, your music sounds whack, get out. Yeah, no, not yet. So MP3 versus WAV, definitely you want the WAV file in there, but if you're trying to save space on stuff, MP3s, WAV files get huge. It's basically, with a WAV file, it's 10 gigabytes per minute. So if you're playing dance music and you've got 7-minute songs, that's 10 gigabytes, it's 10 megabytes, and you got 70 megabyte songs, and you've got like 1,000 of them, that's going to take up a lot of space on your hard drive. I was actually having this conversation with my friend yesterday, and he was like, yeah, I've got like, a couple thousand songs on my hard drive. My hard drive is slowing down. I don't know what's going on. I'm like, it's because you've got probably too much stuff on your internal hard drive. You need an external hard drive for that stuff and to get it off your internal hard drive. So anyway, that's that. That's your bounce. That is the overall bounce. Quit out of you. There we go. So the bounce and all that stuff is here. This picture is an old screenshot from an older version of Pro Tools, so a couple things are left out, but it's basically the same stuff. I don't know. I'm lazy. I don't want to put a new screenshot in here, but basically it's the same stuff. It's all the same stuff. So, and it's got all numbered right there. So you got the notes. Please check this out in the notes. Don't just watch the video. Read the notes also. Okay, the iTunes encoding. If you want to encode stuff with iTunes, now again, this is called Apple Music now, but it's the same basic premise. What you do is you go to open up your Apple Music, and you go to menu, file, convert. Hold on, let's click on something. Oh, preferences. Sorry, not convert. You can do it, I think. Yeah, and you got to go to preferences first. Sorry, it's under here under music, preferences. What does it say there? Menu, iTunes menu. Yeah, okay, so it's a little bit different there, but go in here, and again, I haven't updated it because it's just, they keep changing stuff. And I go to advanced. Is it advanced? Where is it? Files. Yeah, under files, I will have to change this, I guess, because it's not in the same place. Under files, import settings, go to your MP3 encoder and go to custom, and change this to 320 kilobits per second. Okay, so let me just start over here so it's less confusing. So I go up here, I go to my music preferences, or you can just hit Command comma, pull up your preferences, go to Files, go to Import Settings, go in here to import using, always change it to MP3. The reason why you don't want to use AAC sounds great and actually makes smaller file sizes, but AAC is not compatible across the board with every single thing ever. So make MP3s, because MP3s are compatible with every single thing ever. So MP3 encoder, go to Setting, change it to Custom, and then in here, change this to 320, turn off this one here, sample rate, auto, keep that as auto. Or if you wanted to, change it to 44.1. Channels, auto, stereo mode, joint stereo. Then turn off smart encoding adjustments and turn off filter frequencies below 10 hertz. Turn those things off and then hit OK. The reason why you want to turn all that stuff off is because you don't want iTunes. You want iTunes to do as little thinking as possible realistically. And I mean, I guess I keep saying iTunes. I mean, Apple Music, whatever. I'm sure it sounds great. I use it for stuff. But if you turn those things off, it's just a little bit less stuff that it has to do, and you have more control over your audio, because you should be, you should have those filters below 10 hertz. You should be filtering those out yourself, type of stuff, getting rid of that low energy that you don't really need. So then you can hit OK and you're good to go. And once you want to, if you have a song that you want to turn into an MP3, go to File, Convert, Create MP3, convert ID3 tags, whatever, create MP3 version. There you go, boom. If you want to change stuff into WAV or AIF, you can just go back and set it up to WAV or AIF or whatever. But you don't need to upsample stuff, just compress it down. All right, cool. So this last part right here is bouncing tracks. We just talked about bouncing your whole entire song. If you want to bounce individual tracks, there's 3 ways to do it. There's freeze and commit and bounce. Freeze is the one I use the least because even though it is useful, I prefer to have stuff as audio. So especially when I'm using Pro Tools, I don't use freeze ever. When I'm using Ableton Live, you have to use freeze. But when I'm using Pro Tools or Logic, I should say, I don't use freeze. They both have the option for freezing stuff. I don't ever use freeze with those 2 programs. Freeze, what it does is it freezes the track without actually turning it into audio. It is audio, but it's audio like in the background in some other folder somewhere. Then you can unfreeze it at any time to edit the data. It's good for instrument tracks, but again, I don't really use it because I like to get my audio and I like to do stuff with my audio. But let me just give you an example of if I freeze this lead one here. And the way I do this is I right-click on it, and I go down here to freeze. See these 3 ones right here? Freeze, commit, bounce. Freeze, commit, bounce. I click on freeze, and it freezes it. Just going to let it do its thing real quick. And now it turns it into this like file here, but I can't do anything with this file. I can't move it around. It does put audio on top of it. It's just showing you what it's going to play. It's going to sound the same. Right, I can go over here. Right. So it sounds the same. Right, but you notice down here, all this stuff is frozen. I can't change my plugins. All I can do is right-click on it and go to unfreeze, and it puts it back into MIDI again. Now, what just happened is that Pro Tools made an audio bounce of that one track and put it into a folder somewhere, which is probably on my hard drive. Is there a freeze rendered files here? Yeah, there it is, lead FZ, which is freeze. And it put it right there. So I do have the audio file in my computer, which is pretty cool. But what I don't like about it is if I just wanted to freeze like a loop, or if I have to take a little loop and I still want to do some editing and stuff like that, you can't really do anything with it. Also, I can't add new effects to the track. I can't move these effects around. I can't change these effects. So basically, when you freeze a track, it's like that track is just ready to go. It's just there like it is, and you can't do anything to it. You can't change it, whatever. So it's okay. It's not great. Another option is bounce. I right click on it. I go down here to bounce. And what this is going to do, it's going to pull up my same one, but it's just going to be for that track. So what I would want to do is I'd want to set up import after bounce, tell it where I want to put the bounce. And this is just for that one track there. Again, I don't use this one. This one's not the way I do it. This is like something that I would have used a while ago, but not something that I use now because I'm going to hit cancel. The reason why I don't use bounce is because I use commit. And what commit does is, I'm just going to hit OK just so I can show you what it does first, and then we'll go back and talk about all that stuff. What it does is it does the same thing as the freeze. It looks the same as the freeze. But now it turned it into an audio file that I can now go and edit. I can do stuff to it. I can move things around. I can do what I can take it. I can flip it backwards. All this stuff. I can do things to it. It's a track. Whoa, what's going on? What are you? Oh, okay, I see. Yeah. So I can make edits to it like this, like whatever I want to do. It's a fully editable thing. I can put plugins on it over here, right? So that's what freeze. That's what commit does. Let's see if I can I? Okay, there we go. Yeah, cool. I can even undo my commit. Awesome. There we go. As opposed to freeze, which blocks everything out. I can't do any editing to it. So I prefer commit. Now, you might say, well, Tony, if you pay attention to this stuff, you might say, Tony, I want to use freeze because I can unfreeze it. And I would say, I get that, but you should still use commit because what commit does is it actually keeps your original track for you. It just like hides it and deactivates it. So you can't see it, but you can actually go back to it later if you wanted to. So I think that commit is the better of the two options between freeze and commit. Definitely better than bounce. Don't use bounce unless you really want to use bounce, whatever. But I told you so. I'm just going to say it now. But commit still has all the benefits of freeze with the added benefits of now you can edit the track and you can do stuff to it. So you can actually do more with commit. So why not just use commit? And the answer is, I don't know why not. Yeah, use it. Okay, so let's take a look at a couple of those options. First of all, in here, let's go back to our notes. So commit converts the track to full audio right in the session. It also gives you the option of keeping the original track, which you should do. You can also commit up to a certain plugin, which is pretty cool. I'm going to show you that here. Bounce bounces the tracks to disk for sending to other DAWs. Bounce is good for sending out stems and stuff like that. All three of these are great for relieving the CPU usage of your computer as well as for resampling. So what does that mean? That means that if I have a track that is putting a lot of stress on my computer's processor, my computer's glitching and doing stuff, what I can do is I can bounce the track that's giving me problems or the couple tracks that's giving me problems, commit the track, freeze the track, whatever you want to do. I recommend commit. That's why I have it underlined in green here. So a couple things that come up with commit. When you right click and you select the track or plugin, you can use these settings here. Let's go over these settings. Let's talk about it here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my lead. First of all, I'm just going to commit the whole thing. I'm going to right click, go down to commit. It pulls up this little window right here. And this window says, what am I committing? I'm committing my selected tracks. I could also commit part of this edit selection, I guess. I've never actually tried that. Then I can consolidate my clips. If you want to put them into one big long clip, you could do that. You could turn this off. If you want to keep them as these individual clips like this for like doing future edits and stuff, you could turn that off. Do I want to render any of the automation? If you have volume, mute, or pan automation on there, you can render that in. I usually don't render that in because I like to keep it as automation. What do I want to copy? The sends and the group assignments. The group assignments are your outputs. The sends are your send effects. Yes, you usually want to copy those. Where do I want to put it? After my last selected track, usually yes. My source track, that's like this track right here. What do I want to do with that? Well, I'm going to hide and make inactive. I have a couple of options here. I could make it inactive, I could delete it, or I could do nothing. Well, I'm going to hide and make inactive. And then we're going to go to offline here and check that box. You want it to be offline. There you go. And I'm going to hit OK. It's going to go ahead and do all the stuff, what we just talked about, what I just showed you a second ago. And what I want to point out is that the original track is still here. So I can get back to this original track with no problems. There we go. Pretty cool, right? Yes, it is. I know it is. Okay, so we have that there. Let me just show you another thing, though. It's really cool. I'm going to hit Command-Z to undo all that. This is really, really cool. Actually, let me just check something out real quick. Hold on. Let's make a new track. Let me right-click, delete. I'm just checking something real quick. Okay, yeah. I was wondering if you could undo a delete track, because it's like I didn't know you could undo commit, and it's letting me undo commit. So I was wondering if it would let me undo a delete track. It doesn't let me undo a delete track, which is still an annoying thing with Pro Tools. Anyway, so if I wanted to, here, let's see. Let's just get a window up so I can show you a couple things. System usage. Here we go. So the system usage, when I hit go, it's up to 18%. I don't have any, the drums. Oh, here, wait, stop. Here, play. Okay, let's get that bass going, see what it gets to. Okay. You can see on average it's staying around 18 to 20%, 15 to 20%, something like that. So it's not really hitting my CPU very hard right now. I have the, just so y'all know, I'm on the M1 MacBook Air with 16 gigs of RAM. So this is the newest version of Pro Tools. It's still technically not M1 okay, but as you can see, it works pretty okay. If you've been watching my Twitch streams and you've been following me along in the class, on the videos, what have you, you've seen there's been a couple little small glitchy things. But if anybody's in my class or whatever is still wondering about the M1 MacBooks Airs because they're great, then you could definitely get one. I do recommend getting the 16 gigabyte one because 8 gigs is going to give you a little bit of weird issues. 16 gigs is where it's at. That's going to run you about 15 to 1800 depending on if you get that Apple Care. I do recommend getting the Apple Care if you get a laptop though, because who knows when you're going to drop it and break it. All right. Anyway, so what I want to do is, the reason why I was looking at that is to see if it's really going to make a difference if I commit this, which maybe. Well, let's see what happens. What I want to do is I want to commit just the instrument. The instruments are usually what take up a lot of processor power on your computers. So I want to commit just this instrument. The way I do that, well, hold on, before I explain how to do it. The reason why is because I want to commit to just this plugin right here. I want to leave these two editable. So I can go back and I could tweak the filter if I want. I could tweak that EQ if I want to. I want to be able to go back and do that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my vacuum here. I'm going to right click and I'm going to go to commit up to this insert. So what this is going to do is it's only going to commit this instrument here. I'm going to go in here and hold on one second. Can I delete this person? Ban. There we go. Get out of here. Stop trashing my chat. So in here, where it says consolidate, all the settings still apply. I'm not going to change any of the settings. Go in here, hit go. It's going to render it out. Notice how it went a little bit faster, 74 times faster, which is crazy. So this is what the synth looks like by itself with no effects on it, with no filter or whatever. And my filter, all the stuff is still here. All the automation is still there. This is how I like to do it because I like to be able to go back and tweak things later on if I want to. So I could go in here and I can still mess with my cutoff filter. All that stuff. Or I could go over here to this part. Which is pretty darn cool. Okay, so did it alleviate in my CPU? Oh yeah, look at that. Look at that. Now we're down to 7% instead of the 18% we were hitting before. So this vacuum synth really was taking up a lot of my processors. Just this computer is so powerful, it didn't really look like much, right? Which is pretty crazy. But it's a big difference, as you can see, which I think is interesting. And I've still got my effects on there. I've got this. Now the thing is, if we look over here, if I want to go back and edit that MIDI, I've still got the MIDI in there with all the effects, everything. Everything is over there. So I could delete. I could be like, oh, I don't really love that. I can turn this one off. I could go back to this one. I still can do a lot of stuff with it, which is really, 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 really cool. Highly recommend using that right there. So one more time, what did we do? We did this. We commit the instruments without their effects, so you just have the instrument audio. Right-click on the instrument plugin, and the instruments will be changed to audio, but everything after it remains as plugins. That is exactly what I recommend that you do. Awesome. Right. I'm going to go ahead and stop this recording.